What is going on with Discord? Is there
What'd you say, Jeremy?
what is it you're trying to figure out in Discord?
I'm trying to get Tenny's link to the special loop.
Oh, it's a Google Docs one. I can put it in our private chat here.
Oh, perfect. Well, I'm on a different device, so that wouldn't work actually. Oh, I found it.
Okay, cool.
Here we go. Liminal Tech.
Yeah.
Liminal Tech here.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. We have Rob here.
Hey.
Yeah, we have
hey
Rob.
guys. Hey guys and friends and gals and other. Look who's here with us tonight.
That is great. That is glorious right there.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Super fun.
That's so awesome.
Little baby Yoda.
Can't go wrong with a Lego Grogu.
It's true.
I gotta find my tincture here.
Unless it's too new and not cool enough and old school enough for Garrett.
What?
He only likes the first trilogy. That's it. Like nothing else. Anything other than that, like
This is
can't.
Slander. I have not said anything.
Slander. Oh no.
Oh,
I was advocating for the Ewok adventure though.
That's true. Yeah.
It did. I mean, actually, I have not seen it recently, so I don't know if it holds up. But as a kid, it was like I love that one the most.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was into the fuzzy bears. So
you can't go wrong because they look, kind of like they look like dogs. I mean, like small dogs, like bear dogs, mini bear dogs. You could go and pet those. And I wouldn't have a problem with that. They had kind of like my grandmother had a Shih Tzu, and they had the kind of the face of a Shih Tzu.
Yeah, totally. I actually what was I gonna say? Oh, I did watch part of it recently when I was, because I made a spirit box using that movie, so I took all the audio of it and I chopped it up. But I remember there's like point where like one of the Ewoks gave all of them like an item. Do you guys remember this? Like what someone gets like feathers and like someone gets a weird crystal, and then the boy gets a rock, and he's like really upset that he got the rock, like because it's not. I think later in the movie it's like useful or whatever. But it was just like an important. I remember thinking this was so cool. And there's another scene where, like he gets frozen under the water. Do you remember that? There's just like some really like as a kid like terrifying scenes, and there's a scene that where he saves his parents on a catapult. And I tried to build a catapult, and I like ended up cutting my forehead open here.
Oh
my gosh.
Wait, was this today?
No. This was when I was like 4 years old.
Oh, I see.
But why I brought it up is I brought up in Discord is that when I was a kid, I remember they had to give me stitches for this, and they like restrained me to the table, and I couldn't move while they were doing it, and it was like terrifying.
Alien abduction vibes.
Yes. Like, so when I saw fire in the sky, I was like, wait a second. And I asked my mom about it. She's like, oh, when you got stitches, you were like laughing and you had no problem. And I was like, that's not my memory. I remember like bright lights and not being able to move and being petrified. And so there is some like relation between that movie and what we're doing.
And the most hilarious thing about that movie is like, the movie by and large is kind of crappy for the most part, except for that 10 minutes where you're watching him like almost being birthed on a UFO, and then he's like just wandering down a hallway and he gets caught, and it's just like no, and it's like the least accurate like portrayal of Travis Walton's
but it's terrifying.
It is terrifying. It is. I mean, the thing is, like, you read Travis's story, it's not as terrifying as he makes it out. Yeah, he wakes up and he sees like these big-headed, weird-looking aliens, and he ends up like pushing one, and they kind of they're not aggressive. They back away from him, and he just starts wandering throughout the ship, and he enters a room, and he sees this like the screen in front of him that looks like he's like in space or something like that, and then these human-looking aliens come in the room. They just like calm him down. They put something over his face, like a like a gas mask, and he just knocks out. It's like it's not as terrifying as they make it out. I think like watching him getting zapped with that beam from the UFO, that was probably a little more terrifying. But
Yeah. Well, also little known fact, he actually was also attempting to build a miniature version of a catapult from the Ewoks. Ewok Adventure movie.
You heard it here first. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. People don't
breaking
really know
news.
that, but yeah.
Yeah.
We can
No,
share.
but the whole thing where he like wakes up and there's like a dead body that crumbles into dust, and he's in this like weird like honeycomb thing that looks like a beehive meets the Matrix, and like
exactly like when you see that scene when he's just like waking up in that pod, I'm like, did the Matrix rip this off? Because it really looks like they did.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah,
I remember. There's that like sheet that goes over him or whatever. That just restrains, and they cut open that part. Is just so horrifying. I can't. Ugh. It just.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Nightmares for life.
yes.
Yes.
My nightmare was
everybody.
10 years. I'm trying to remember how old I was, because I think it was like 1997, so it was like 13 or 14, watching Unsolved Mysteries, and the one that got me was the Allagash abductions. These four guys, they're in the wilderness of Maine, they're in the most remote part of Maine that you could possibly be in, and one idiot decides to signal a UFO with a flashlight. They, like, the thing is, and the way that they edited that together, because they're all artists, so they all create art, depicting what happened to each of one of them. And I think it was Jim Wiener's art, Jim or Jack Wiener, I can't remember exactly which one. Like, the art is terrifying. They're playing like the tapes from their hypnosis sessions, and it's just like, no, get me out of this room right now. I am not down for this. That scarred me for life. Robert Stack ruined a lot of my formative childhood years. But I'm here today, as weird as ever.
Yes.
It's really funny that you say some idiot flashing a flashlight at the sky, because that's the first thing I did. The very first WUFO is doing some Morse code up into the sky, being that idiot.
Wait. What did you signal? Because there's rules here. There's rules, and we have very well established rules that I've gone over on Our Strange Skies. If you ever in your life flash an SOS, you better start running, because they're coming for you. Every single time anybody has ever flashed SOS, that UFO comes for them. It happened in Allagash. It happened in the Terry Lovelace Devil's Den abduction. Just do not do it. That's my only advice.
They will try to help.
Yeah, they will. But like, there's a cost benefit analysis here that we're not taking into account.
Rob, you should totally write you should write a book like that of all of these common do's and don'ts of abductees.
Yeah.
100% would buy.
And it'll include a chapter about aliens like messing up, not knowing how bed sheets work, or pajamas.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we're all here for that.
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh man. Well, I think we should do like the official speech, I guess, real quick. If you're joining us for the first time, we are Wednesday Night UFO Watch, affectionately coined as WUFO. Every single Wednesday at 10 p.m. we go collectively look up at our skies. You are joining us for the pre-contact session, where right now we're hanging out, but around 9 o'clock we're going to get started on reading some tarot and oracle cards, trying some fun, interesting methods of divination. Then we'll finish up with doing some sort of Estes method. I know that Garrett has some extra special things that he's trying tonight. I am as well. We gained access to one of John E.L. Tenney's loops. I don't have a whole lot of knowledge around what exactly it is other than his own version of a ghost box. It's 9 minutes. I'll have to figure out how to loop that, I think was my next question for Garrett. But yeah, I'm going to be using Tenney's audio that he sent us, and I'm going to use it instead of a regular spirit box, and we'll see what happens. Garrett, what are you doing with yours? Yours is so exciting and of the day.
Yeah, I've mentioned a little bit. I cut up the Ewoks Adventure movie, and it's gonna loop through that, play like samples from it, like 200 millisecond. So it makes like a virtual spirit box. And I listened to it a little bit earlier, and I kind of actually want to go back through and just take the Ewok voices because they talk in this weird language. So it's because I would hear it occasionally, and it was creepy. So I thought just because like right now I occasionally you hear like triumphant music and stuff like burst through, but if it was just the weird Ewok voices, I think that would be amazing. So I'm gonna try that tonight, and I'm gonna use Tenny's also his audio underlay with that as well. So
sweet.
Yeah. And I think I'm gonna just type. When I do it, I'm gonna type, and you can see what I'm gonna be on the screen. You'll see it. So
awesome.
Trying some new things tonight. Yeah.
And we've got Rob with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I am here. Yes.
Latest in our series of cool guests.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I will accept this label of cool that you have given me. I appreciate it.
It worked out perfectly too. Like you're on vacation and you're like, man, I'm so excited for when I actually get to participate. And I was like, well, you know what? The full treatment,
Right?
I guess.
Yeah, and it's your birthday week too, isn't it? Or
birthday's on Friday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yay! I do want to also announce too that due to recent events, we're going to start taking up different funds every week. Every week we'll pick a different fund collectively. So if you go to wufo.watch/donate, every single wick of a candle, every single week we are going to be picking a different fund. So this week it's going to be for the National Network of Abortion Funds. So like I said, go to wufo.watch, WUFO/donate, or you can go directly to fundathon.nnaf.org. And I can drop that link in the comments as well. But yeah, and we are open and interested in any causes that you want to send us to check out.
Yeah. Yeah, please consider donating if you are privileged enough to be able to do so. We all will as well. So
yep, we appreciate it. So Rob, what are you interested in doing tonight? You want to ask questions? You want to kind of hang back? You want to light a candle maybe? What do you want to do?
I kind of want to observe here, and then if there's an opportunity for me, believe me, I will snatch it to ask a question, a relevant question, because I'm the kind of person that, once they get their feet, once they're settled in, believe me, I've got questions.
Excellent. That's exactly what we want to hear, right? Because I think that you can help with this too. Is something that we have to remember with the Estes method specifically is that we want to throw some like curveball questions in there every once in a while. Mm-hmm. We don't want to start developing too much of a narrative. We want to kind of throw something out there. And so we've been doing things with numbers. We've been doing things with say something directly, and we'll kind of break up the conversation a little bit just to kind of throw it off. But then I think where I'm really excited for Rob to be joining us is a lot of that abductee conversation. In the past, we've been like, this is some really interesting conversation we're getting here. It's almost like something that we would hear in an abductee story situation. So knowing everything that you know, it's going to be really cool to kind of see maybe what we say, how that associates with what you know that maybe we don't, and all that fun stuff. I'm really excited. I'm jealous that I can't like watch and do it at the same time. I'll watch it back.
Question: Where am I donating to? Just logged in.
Oh, let me see if I can drop a link. So the problem is I can't leave.
I can do it.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I've got two links.
wufo.watch/donate. Yeah,
that's the easiest one. And I know that should take you right there.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Rob, we didn't really introduce Rob, so maybe he should talk about like what he does and like what he's been doing and what he's working on right now, that kind of thing. Yeah. Just give your background a little bit.
Sure. I'm Rob Christofferson. I'm the host of the Our Strange Skies podcast. I've been doing that since 2017. I initially started as a paranormal investigator way back in 2007. Started investigating haunted locations and stuff like that. Got some really great stuff for a long time, and then my focus shifted to UFOs after I had a really close encounter in 2015 when I was at work with a buddy. We were just standing outside and we see this big old egg-shaped thing just like flying right near where we were, moving real slowly. So after that, I started to focus on UFOs entirely. Got involved in the Astonishing Legends research core there at the beginning, and eventually I just decided to branch off, do my own podcast. And basically most of my time I'm buried in books and articles, and I have guests on every week. I've had Bex on. Bex has talked we've talked about the giant UFOs of the Yukon, and
that was a great episode.
Yeah, it was wild because it's like the Yukon. Why are there UFOs so big? It's still a question I have yet to answer, but they got big UFOs, and I don't know why. But that's pretty much what I do. You can check out the Our Strange Skies podcast pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts. I also do TTRPGs and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, check out the Order of Podcasters or Rolling Through the Realms.
Awesome. I have a little bit of a fun sync for you, Rob. That's like something that I guess we call, it's not like a full synchronicity. We don't want to like throw that word around too much. So we kind of invented our own, and it's called a fun sync. It's just something fun, like a little coincidence. So our episode was about the Yukon and these giant UFOs. And then either last week or the week before, I was listening to Jess and John's podcast, What's Up Weirdo? And they were talking about this bar in the Yukon Territory that you can go to. And they will put a mummified human toe in your shot, and you get like your picture and like notoriety. And it was in the same freaking town that those twin sisters worked at, and I was like, that is wild. I have to tell Rob.
One thing you should all know is that if you don't watch out for your gold claim in the in the Yukon, the UFOs will come for it, because that's what they're there for.
You know what's interesting though is we once went to Skagway in Alaska, and they have one there too. They have a bar where there's a mummified toe that people can like take shots of, and this one is like, it's like a jar full of alcohol with the toe in it, and you don't get the toe in your shot glass or whatever. They just pour
that would be wasteful,
alcohol. Right? And is this like some sort of weird like Northwest gold 1849er like
right
1,000%
drink or what? But like a cottage industry. Right. And what are they like? Is there a dude with like a briefcase full of severed toes that like goes around on a dog sled?
It's the urgent care. The urgent care sells them every time somebody's frostbite.
Did you drink it? Did you drink the shot though, Jeremy?
Oh no, I did not. I was actually there on a cruise with my in-laws, which is like
impressive.
Well, it was the only way that I would go to Alaska, or not. I shouldn't say that. No, that's not what I meant. I meant the only way I would go on a cruise. Rather, is what I meant. You know, is that like, you know, I don't think they were gracious, and we had a lot of fun. But no, I didn't go to that bar. I don't remember why. There wasn't enough time. I don't know.
Apparently,
we did go on this like, so, you know, if you're like going on a cruise, you can buy these optional side quests that happen every day, like zip lining or whatever. We went on a river nature trek. And I asked the guide if he ever saw Bigfoot. And instead he started telling me about the Kushtaka, which is a giant were otter.
Oh yeah.
According to people of that region. And he says
He says
nobody's ever seen Bigfoot in my experience, but I know a couple of people who said that they think they saw this giant were otter.
Yes.
And I was like,
So
what?
cool.
And he leads you into the forest to get you lost.
Right.
And people, like even on my dad's island, are terrified of them. Like they're fucking real. They're fucking real. And they're like, they don't go in the woods at night. Like they have like a series of steps that they do not do. There's 2 tribes I know of that are like, yes, 150% don't go in the woods after dark. The were otter will get you. It's like, and they say that it can shapeshift too. So there's some other tomfoolery with cryptoids there, and they're like, it can be an otter, it can be this, it can be that, and it's all terrifying.
Yeah.
That
was
cool. Did toes fall off frequently because of the cold? That's a good question. I bet that's
right.
it. Exactly.
It very well could be. I mean, I can't imagine how much frostbite, goes on up there yearly, but like that's the only thing I can think of. It's just like, hey, 2 bars, really, not too far away from each other. They've got this weird tradition.
Yeah.
They've got a supplier.
They've got a supplier of toes. It's kind of like those feet that wash up in those shoes in your neck of the woods.
That's us.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's still no answer to that. Like no solution. And you hear people say like, "Oh, it's just because the foot is a particular shape to survive." It's like, heck are you talking about?
That doesn't make sense though. Why are there so many? Like, is there an influx of I don't know. Like, is there a serial killer working in the area? What do we got going on here? It's kind of like, Texas has those like baby dolls that keep washing up on their shores now. It's like, what the hell is going on there? No, thank you.
Explanation for the feet. It reminds me of like the water spout explanation for like rains of frogs. Which it rained frogs, like a water spout picked them up and picked. So this water spout only picked up things with the specific gravity of frogs that it passed over. It didn't pick up like the seaweed or the other animals or the insects or anything like that. That for some reason the speed it was spinning at, and it's like that's way that if that was the case, that would be way weirder than just like the rain of frogs.
Yeah.
Were the mundane explanations weirder?
The mundane explanation more anomalous than the weird explanation. Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I kind of want to look for more examples of those. Like,
right. I've been delving into I've been reading this book that kind of does a great job of telling the paranormal story of the region where I live by looking at the geology of the area, the Native American legends and stuff like that, and like really going headfirst into it. It's called Mysterious Beauty by Dr. C.S. Matthews. It's a really great book that does it in a respectful manner. And one of the cool things that I learned is that the Algonquin people, which are the tribes that lived in my area, they had one kind of like godlike being that they would leave offerings to, was basically a Bigfoot-like being. And the way that this being would show up to let them know that it was there, their legends say that that creature would be there, but it would also be accompanied by little people riding deer. So like when you hear the like wood knocking sounds, wasn't Bigfoot, it was these little people hitting the sticks against the trees, and it was the little people that were throwing rocks and stuff like that. So Bigfoot, a little more badass than I realized, definitely has an entourage, which I didn't see coming.
I love
it.
Love that. Yeah,
that fired me up.
Yeah. It makes me think of that somebody submitted to the map, the squirrels. I don't know why. There was this report about these squirrels, and like she looked at the squirrels again, and it was like a little dude riding one or something like that. Or was it that they were little people who were wearing squirrel outfits?
So I got a couple interesting stories that like delve into that a little bit. I can't. Somebody posted in our Discord server for Our Strange Skies the story. This guy who had gone to a Nebraska state park with his family, and outside of the place that they were staying in, they could see this tiny, really tiny looking UFO. And on the screen door, they could see these like really weird looking kind of like translucent frogs that had tiny human heads on them, and they were just climbing up on their screens and stuff like that. And like it terrifies me to think of that, like entirely. There's also this story from this one lady in England back in like the 1930s. She talked about how the property that she lived with, her family lived on, her brother had, I guess, had like a broken leg or was sick or something like that. And they were hanging out in their garden, and they see this very tiny airplane fly into their garden, land. They see a little pilot inside of it, waves at them, and then takes off again. It's like,
wow.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
What about, there's one that is really, really interesting to me while we're on the subject of tiny UFOs. If we're getting too off track here, anybody's free to chime in and let us know. But the 1970s, early 1970s in Japan, where there were these little boys. Do you know this one, Garrett?
Yeah,
you're muted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they found this UFO, this tiny UFO, and they kept it for like a while.
Right.
I can't remember exactly what happened.
The Kara object. Yeah. It ended up, I think, disappearing. I think it might have taken off on its own. Interestingly enough, in the 1960s, there was a very similar case to that in Brazil. This guy, I forget what his name was, but he had found this. He was a night watchman. He had found this like really tiny looking like object that looked like a small flying saucer. So he picked it up and he brought it inside, and he just kind of put it on top of his this like one cabinet in the bathroom, and like they didn't really know what to make of it. They just kind of kept this UFO for like a day until like it literally shot into the air, like made a hole straight into their roof and disappeared.
That is awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So weird. So while we're on the subject of ultra weird UFO stuff, which is our favorite, have you seen the David Huggins, the new David Huggins documentary? Isn't there a new one coming out?
I don't know if there's a new. They put out the Love and Saucers on Blu-ray.
And, that's it. That's exactly what I'm thinking. It's on Blu-ray now. Yeah.
And the fun thing is that if you buy the Blu-ray, you will see an interview with me on it.
Oh, that's right. That's what made me think of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It was cool. I talked to Brad for like 45 minutes back in like January or something like that. But there's a lot of great interviews in there. Like I know Rich Adams on it. There's a few other people on there, Jeffrey Kripal and stuff. And I think who's it? Robert Crumb of all people. I was like, how did you get Robert Crumb, who was like a legend in the art world, in comics and stuff? And it's like that's cool. But that
tracks, though. That totally tracks that he would be into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you guys know Bex and Jar Jar? You know the David Huggins thing?
The what? No, I don't know about this. No.
What?
Oh yeah, David Huggins. Huggins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Huggins. Yep.
Yeah, you should look him up. He's an abductee who like painted
his experiences,
pictures of all of his experiences, but they're like the paintings are freaky. They're like dude in a blue jumpsuit, like with making love to a woman with an alien head in the forest, and you know.
Oh yeah, they get they get really, really saucy there. A little bit. Yeah, saucy. But there's actually, you can buy a book with the art in it. It was put together by Farah Yurtsu, who was an investigator. But like, you go on Amazon, you want to see David Huggins' art. I forget what the heck it's called. I think it's like called Love in an Alien Time or something like that. But it's a really great documentary. It's very, for a guy who claims that he lost his virginity to an alien, it's as down to earth as a documentary could be about a subject like that. So definitely check that out, because he's like, he has this collection of like 1950s vintage VHS tapes of sci-fi movies and stuff. So like,
wow.
It's great to see that. And like the dude, when I interviewed, because I interviewed the director Brad Abraham's first interview I ever did, and we were talking all about it. And the most awkward thing is that his ex-wife still lives with him, like through it all. They live together, and like,
wow.
I like, more power to him. Good for him.
There you go.
Yep.
You just Googled the art, Jar Jar. Your first time
See,
seeing
you're getting it. Like, there's
no.
one image that is like the biggest image that he ever created is like, I think it's like 7 feet tall, 6 or 7 feet tall, but it is of an alien. It's a human body with a gray alien head, and it is naked as a jaybird. Yep.
Oh man, yeah, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
This is maybe a silly question, so forgive my ignorance, but the whole abduction thing, is that as popular of a thing these days? It seems like, I'm just curious, like, we don't get that many those kinds of stories sent to us, but I'm just wondering if that kind of stuff, is there any current things like that happening?
I'm sure there are. I just don't think the investigators, the main investigators that are working on stuff like this, like, work in MUFON. They're like,
right.
MUFON is not frequent in sharing, what they have and stuff like that. But other than that, what you generally get are people that publish their own books and stuff like that. I think Terry Lovelace is probably the most well-known of the ones today that, he self-published his own book about his experiences. There are a few others out there. But yeah, I think it's just largely to do with like the way in which the information is just privatized.
Right.
I think that's what it comes down to. And like, researchers like Bud Hopkins, who was pretty instrumental in kind of giving the abduction phenomenon its own identity, and John Mack, they're no longer with us, so you have that going on as well. So yeah, I think it just comes down to the privatization of the information.
Yeah, that's interesting. Or I wonder if people don't want to come forward with it now because of what has happened with the history of people sharing that, and now maybe they don't want to be as public about it. And if it's still, I'm just curious if it's still happening, but it's like more quiet or private, or behind these other entities kind of tracking that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's just like, because there was this period of time when all these people were saying they were getting abducted, and then I just don't hear about it currently, like big stories about that kind of thing. But maybe I'm wrong. I just don't know.
Well, and also too, like the folks that investigated these kind of cases, they had places to publish them. They don't have places to really publish them unless they do it online. And again, your online blog or something like that isn't necessarily going to receive the most amount of circulation that the old journals and stuff would. Like when you look at the like classic abduction cases before you get to like the periods that I say are classic versus like the way that we look at abductions now. So before 1987 is kind of that turning point where abduction, where communion comes out, and it kind of just changes the game. You have people that start coming forward, talking about their experiences. That book kind of emboldened a lot of people to talk about their experiences. Before that, you had a lot of the classic cases were they're stranger than like the ones you read about now, which are very homogenous. You see, gray like beings like constantly, versus like a guy like Pier Fortunato Zanfretta, who was abducted by these 10-foot tall green aliens with yellow eyes that like did some very weird stuff. They hooked him up to a helmet in order to be able to understand the aliens. And I mean, there's like the case of Sandra Larson, who encountered they call them mechanical mummies. These beings, like, they had mechanical, like, they look like robots with like that were like wrapped up to look kind of like mummies. That was a weird case. There's a lot of just like weird cases before you get to 1987, and then you see this homogenous view of abductions with grays and reptilian beings and stuff like that. So like back in the day, the things were a lot weirder than I would say they are now.
What's interesting to me was the sort of semi-transition between like the contactee movement and like the abductee. Like, I mean, I guess it is kind of a movement if you want to do the abductee thing,
right?
Is that there? At first it was all the Sky Brothers and the we're from a planet here in the solar system, usually like Venus, or I mean sometimes, but then like that kept getting weirder and weirder, and then all of a sudden this abduction narrative came in, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on if you look at it in sort of the Jacques Vallée, have people always been getting abducted by whatever aliens were in their culture, and it makes me wonder about parallels then between the contactees and folklore of like the Fae, and because everybody always compares them to the abductee thing,
right?
But what about the other, the earlier kind of kinder, gentler?
Right. Yeah, because like once you get to that 1987 barrier, you start going back, you start seeing people having, abductions with grays going back to the 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, parents, grandparents, stuff like that. So like, you have that line where this demarcation of the stuff that's reported versus the stuff that people report later experiencing. And like one thing that I think really when you get into the 60s, in particular with the publications that I've read, you find that most of them didn't print stories involving very weird aliens until about 1964, 1965. And part of the reason I think there's two factors because of that. One is because of Lonnie Zamora and his experience. I think it was such a credible experience that it said, okay, maybe we can start to trust people a little bit more that say, hey, I saw some weird looking aliens outside of this UFO. And it wasn't anything like George Adamski or, Truman Bethram or anything like that. They didn't necessarily look human. So, it seemed like his story helped to and because of how much national attention, like if you go on to newspapers.com and you type in the name Lonnie Zamora, you're going to see stories in newspapers from all over the country because it just made such a furor. And I mean, there was a sighting in New York hours before that of this guy, Gary Wilcox, on his farm, ends up seeing this like object or something glinting far off on his property. So he goes and looks at it. He sees a UFO. It's landed on his property, and he encounters these beings that look like they are, it's tough to describe them. They're like covered. They look like they're either covered head to toe in like some like covering or something like that, and he talks about how he had like this telepathic kind of communication with them, and they asked him for fertilizer, so he did. He dropped some fertilizer off, and they ended up taking it later. But that, coupled with the fact that once you get into 1965 and you see the press kind of turn on the government and say, I don't like the explanations that they're coming up for these cases. They seem to be dismissing them. And they did from about 1953 to 1964. They were pretty dismissive about everything. So once you get into that area, you start to see these stories of people encountering, like, there's a story from Kent with these kids that encountered a headless bat-like creature that was like 6 feet tall, looked exactly like a cross. Like if you took a bat and you made it like more humanoid, looked like that, except didn't have a head on it. You have stories like the Maurice Moss sighting in France in 1965. Maurice Moss, he had a farm, and he had like a very nice lavender field. And in this lavender field, one morning, he sees this UFO. He thinks that it's like it's somebody from the government or something like that on his property. So he goes up to him, and they shoot him with like it's like a wand-like device, and they paralyze him before taking off. That was a story that made like it was a big deal in the UFO press. Like they devoted like 5 or 6 articles to the story in Flying Saucer Review over the course of like 3 years. So once you get to that 1964 line, that's when you start to see more weird looking aliens in your UFO stories. And then after that, you see more abduction accounts and stuff. It's like those like conservative stories like bloomed into something bigger, a lot bigger.
I could totally talk about this for like ever.
I know.
Yeah, I'm sitting here
I'm
like
wondering-
thinking this is exactly why we had you come.
Yeah. But I noticed we're on TikTok now. I didn't know how long we wanted to give the actual session tonight.
Oh, right. Yeah, we should probably get started on it soon-ish. Ish. We can ease into it. But I went and I grabbed my field guide to extraterrestrials. Because I thought it'd be funny to do a form of divination where I just kind of flip through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I pick one. Maybe if we like it, maybe we can maybe look
Hey,
at
Headless Batman is in there. So
I wonder if he's related to Bat Squatch. Do you know
that's what I was
about
wondering. Is it Bat Squatch?
I don't know. Like when you look at the image of it, it just literally looks like it's got wings. It looks like a human looking bat. Like not even Mothman level humanoid factor. It just looks like a human crossed with a bat without a head. It's very wild.
Yeah, Bat Squatch did have a head from what I recall.
Yeah. What do we got there?
Who is it?
Oh, is that the Herbert Schirmer guys?
It's the humanoid, which is funny because that's the first card that we usually pull from our Oracle deck.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I found mine. Oh,
I
hang on.
pulled the human. I tried a new divination method and I still pulled human.
Yeah, humanoid.
And you guys were just talking about humanoids.
Right.
Well, just read. Class humanoid, type human, wrinkled face, December 3rd of 1967.
Yeah, Herbert Schirmer's abduction. Yep.
Yeah, in Ashland, Nebraska.
Yep.
Goodness. At 2:30 a.m. on a clear moonless night after investigating a report of a livestock disturbance. State Trooper Herbert Schirmer, he was a state trooper, whoa. He approached what he thought we saw were red lights of a truck on the highway. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a metallic, saucer-shaped object hovering with red light portholes around its rim. And there was a catwalk surrounding the object. That's wild.
This was the only humanoid case that the Condon Committee, which came in 1966 when they kind of just want to put a wraps on the government study of UFOs and stuff. It was the only humanoid case that they studied, and he underwent hypnosis in Colorado, and while he was doing it, a bunch of angry people literally blew up his car.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It sounds like it ended up being quite the traumatic experience because he couldn't even relay more details until he was under hypnosis.
Right.
That's wild.
There is a great audio. There's a video on YouTube out there of him presenting his experience, and like, he's a very smart guy, very down to earth. He studied abroad. He knew more than one language. Just like a really intelligent guy, had this experience, got ridiculed out of town. He ended up actually, I think he moved to the Washington area.
Of course he did.
And he died in 2011, and there's actually a comic book written about his experiences, and it's all from this this like presentation that he gave. It's called December 3rd, 1967. But it's a really good comic book if you can find it.
Oh wow. Yes. That sounds awesome.
Yep.
That sounds so cool. Okay. So
Look what I found. I found my original before it was called that.
Oh wow.
Like, this is the first physical copy of the deck that would eventually become the Oracle of the Hypogeum.
A little history there.
Otherwise, it's exactly the same. We just, before we landed on that name for it, we had a different one.
Wow. Okay. So I'm gonna pull a couple cards so we can kind of dip our toes in getting the session started here. I'm gonna use the deck as well. Oh, what's Eric got? There's a snake.
No, I said it. Aurora Boros. How do you say that?
Aurora Boros.
Yeah, the snake.
Ouroboros.
The snake eating itself.
Yeah,
the snake eating its own. It's a Gnostic symbol originally.
Oh, tell us all about. Tell us about that.
Gnostic
scholar Jeremy.
former Gnostic scholar. It was just, it's an ancient philosophical symbol used to describe the state of the fate of the creation, kind of. Like, it's a mystical symbol for like the need for balance, because if you don't balance, you're going to end up devouring yourself. Like, you can only stay in like that state of stasis for so long. So that's what it is.
Two things I wanted to bring about. The card says it has something to do with the Milky Way, which came up with the magic sentence we gave Jason, and also this whole idea of I did a LSO, like a liminal spirit oracle in my backyard, and the stick pointing with the curve that kind of curves back on itself. So like going in a path that looks straight, but it's actually curving back around.
Yeah.
Restarting over again. So I feel like that's kind of like interesting, similar, the Milky Way and this kind of spiral of things. I don't know if like part of this WUFO experience we're doing is maybe coming back around and around and around and doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's some kind of theme or something that will. I don't know. That's something I was wondering about.
Yeah. I just Barbaro.
Oh,
your friend.
Yeah.
The owl.
Yes.
The owl. Owls have
come on.
They have very little to do with
the owl.
Nothing at all.
I dare Rob to look out his window right now.
No. All right. You want to know why I got beef with owls? Is because Mike Clelland, he's the owl guy, right?
Yeah.
He wrote books about owls and being these symbols and alien abduction cases. And the freakiest thing about that guy is that he owns a bed and breakfast in my hometown.
What?
Yes. Yeah. He owns a bed and breakfast with his partner in my hometown.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. No, because it just freaks me out more. I was like, that's too close, man. That's too close.
Not gonna stay there?
What'd you say?
Not gonna stay there.
What's interesting is that in Ryan Sprague's book, he talks about going there and having a weekend retreat there, and just given how he wrote it, I will never be going there ever.
Oh wow! I don't know a whole lot about it.
I in the area where it is like it like my hometown is known for being like the place where you would try to go and be cured of tuberculosis because the air was so clean. It's like a very rural area. There isn't a lot of, there wasn't a lot of smog or anything like that. So you go up there, you get, clean air and such. And it's a pretty haunted town because a lot of people, died. I'm from a town called Saranac Lake, which is where all of this takes place. But like, in that neck of the woods is where a lot of cure cottages are. So I don't know that that property specifically was a cure cottage, but it's in the area. But yeah, no, I'll never be going there ever.
Yeah,
ever.
It sounds like Starvation Heights.
Yeah, it does. Can I give you guys a weird flex?
Sure.
I have a weird flex. I know Mike.
Damn you.
I can't give any information because I don't think that he wants to be found right now, but I got this signed last fall.
Nice.
He's a really awesome person. I know him through someone else that was very unexpected, and I literally walked in and he was in there and I was like, wait.
Wow,
that's cool. No, he's like one of the nicest
unexpected.
people ever. But yeah, no, I don't want to ever stay to spend breakfast.
Hi, Danny.
Yes, I would love to learn more. I don't know a whole lot about that. I just when you meet the owl guy, you talk about owls.
Right.
But I'm curious because I have an owl experience, and so I'm always dying to hear if people have them. And so I was like driving on these back roads one night in Indiana, in the Hoosier National Forest, and it was like midnight, 1 o'clock, and all of a sudden I'm like going around a curve and I see something standing in the road, and I'm like, spurring on my brakes, and it's this gravel road, so there's all this dust that gets kicked up, and then as it starts to recede, I see this ginormous barred owl just standing in the road.
No, thank you.
And I look at it. It looks at me, and so I get out. I kind of like flick my lights. I start honking. I even like start to creep forward. Doesn't blink. Doesn't move. It just looks. And so I get out of the car and I'm like shoo, because like I don't know. I was raised by a mountain man. Like that's what you do with wildlife. Get out of the way, bird. I gotta go. Didn't move. We were there 5 minutes having like a stare down. I got back into the car and like the person I was with at the time was like, I guess we're here. I guess we're staying put. And eventually it flew off. Or it made eye contact, and it was not at all deterred by my noise and my aggression. It was wild. A barred owl specifically. And then I ended up having my cousin had the same experience, but in a Land Between the Lakes park in Kentucky. Around the same time of night, same year, same species of owl. Very, very weird.
Creepy as hell. I'm creeped out.
Exactly. So we're like, what's that about? Yeah, I love me some owls.
The very first WUFO when I went outside, that was the experience that I had, was hearing owls in my backyard. So, which I have before, to be perfectly fair, because we have owls that live in our area. So,
right.
But still,
it's more significant now.
Yeah.
Bex, did you pull the mystery card again?
Yeah. It popped out when I was shuffling.
Oh, the football, remember?
Yeah.
Football.
I think that card you pulled that card more than any. It's like, I don't know.
This one and the human one we get almost weekly.
And it's like a UFO too. It looks like a UFO. Looks like a Japanese wood block UFO of some kind. Yeah. Like that. What's that bell? The
bell.
There's the UFO. Ancient UFO in Japan.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? What is this guy? No. Oh, there it is. Because I'm sure it's in there.
Okay. Let's see. I'm pulling more. I'm shuffling. I got Acker Holly and Ivy, the giver. More gifting.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord. What are we going to get this time?
Yeah, that's right. We have gifts come up a lot too.
Yeah. We have a gift for you. This and that. Of course. Let me read the 2 definitions here just so we can get... I'll do mystery just for folks that might be... So it's an initiation. We pull a mystery. Almost every... the last couple ones at least. Confronting one's darkness in order to understand life and death. Descending into the hypogeum via the imaginal realm and finding an answer. Which is what we were doing on May 1st. We were, you know, starting this process again and trying to gain insight and seeking an answer by going into the cave.
That's right.
And then so we have the giver. Jeremy, would you like to tell us a little more about this card? This is a new one for me. I haven't pulled this guy yet.
The giver, that's right. And that's Holly and Ivy. So that's like the Santa Claus archetype card. It's, you know, because in Quatrian mythology that this is based on, instead of a like magician being pulled by 8 deer, the primary sort of deity is Anthor, who is a deer, and he has a team of 8 magicians. And that one is sort of the one that's in charge of like gift giving, which is, it's interesting because those 2 plants have always been associated with like protection from, you know, the Fae or the fairies or whatever. And now they're associated with Christmas, Holly and Ivy. It also turns out that they're both highly invasive, particularly in this area. I don't know. I mean, I think pretty much around at least this country, Holly and Ivy are like invasives. But it is, we were talking recently about this whole idea of like invasive species is like way more complex than people tend to think of it, because a lot of it comes from like herbicide companies. Like they're trying to sell the products that people can buy and municipalities can buy to like spray poison all over these species to kill them all off. What they don't mention that is that a lot of these species are early succession species. And what that means is that they show up in places that are already decimated. Like that are already just like bare lots or unhealthy forests and they serve the purpose in that case of acting as organic matter as they die that future healthy species can use, you know, that gets integrated into the soil. So in some sense, these invasive species are coming in and actually making the soil, like they're healing the land. They're kind of like a Band-Aid. And so that's one way to think of those 2 plants in relation to gift giving. So those, you know, this idea of invasive species as actually providing a gift or service for future generations, you know, in an attempt to sort of heal the land. And that's the story of Santa Claus.
Beautiful. I love it. Okay. I mean, I think I'm about ready for the going under part. I do have to ask, Garrett, you said that you listened to it once? I hadn't gotten a chance to prior to streaming. So what can I expect with this MP3 that Tenny gave us? Oh, you're muted.
So I think he made it sound like human voices. So I listened to it a little bit, and it sounds like, you know, it's like whispering, like of nothing, you know, not real words. And then there is a nice like beat kind of going with it the whole time. It's pretty creepy. So
looks like we have the man himself here tonight. Hello.
Oh,
Frank.
Yeah.
Hello, John.
Maybe John can put a little bit more about it, but it's pretty awesome. So I'm gonna play that, and you're gonna be listening to that as well tonight.
Yes.
And then I'll be listening to the Ewok Adventure Spirit Box, And yeah, do we want to say before we go under and do this, try to contact area entities? Do you want to talk about who we're donating to tonight and just do that one more time, and then we can go for it?
Yes. So
I'm sorry, I don't want to delay us anymore, but if I don't say this, it will be lost forever. We need to make a custom spirit box of recordings of people speaking in tongues.
Ooh, yeah. Let's do
we
it.
gotta wait for my episode of Vanessa to come out. Of course, I brought that up. That's what I was talking about.
Okay, all right, sorry. I'll go ahead, keep going.
So every single week we are going to be fundraising for a different cause. This week, if you go to wufo.watch/donate, it will be redirected to the National Network of Abortion Funds. So you can go that directly on our site, or you can also go to fundathon.nnaf.org. Either way, your funds are going to a nationwide organization who basically funds people, especially in states where their human rights are being taken away. They are able to still get one, whether it's travel costs, paying for, like, sometimes you have to pay a deductible, or depending on which state you're in. So that covers anything that could possibly be in the way of someone needing healthcare. So we are super excited to have that included. That's, again, wufo.watch, WUFO.watch/donate. We appreciate it. And if you have any recommendations for causes that are extra close to your heart, send them our way. We would love to have a bit of a lineup going every single week. It's going to be something different. So thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so we're gonna go under and try to contact aerial entities. John says here, I made this audio to create audio. I don't know how to pronounce that word.
Apophenia.
So pareidolia for your ears. And pareidolia is like you could think like a Rorschach, like an ink block test, or any like seeing patterns and kind of noise, right? So
right.
So this is for like an audio version of that. Maybe I can see if I can make the audio come through and you can hear it. Let's see.
Hi, Chloe. We have Chloe here on TikTok. It's been a few weeks. Hi, Chloe.
Is that working? I can't tell if that's
kind
working.
of. It was just like whispered, kind of.
Yeah.
All right. Without further ado, Garrett, are you ready?
Wait.
Yeah, you could just kind of hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
I'm
cool.
sufficiently creeped out by it, you know?
Me too. That's exciting. Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Are we setting a timer, or are you just going to let things happen?
I'm using all my devices again. I really need to find a solution for that.
Right.
I mean, I don't think we've had anything too crazy.
No, I mean, we can go over, a little bit.
It's not as constrained or confined, so I'm okay with continuing how we have.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see about asking some questions and provide some color commentary.
Mm-hmm.
Play by play.
See ya on the other side, guys. Hit play here. Oh, creepy.
I don't know if Garrett's going to blindfold or not. Is there anybody? Oh, that's right. Garrett's typing. What do you hear?
Yeah.
Is there anyone outside listening?
So he just said, I am.
I can hear them.
I have it on, but I can't hear y'all. So I guess if anybody who's watching or listening has any questions, feel free to type them in and we'll ask them.
It sounds like a soundtrack to a horror movie. This is really disorienting. Oh my goodness.
Leave.
But I can't.
Leave TikTok.
No idea.
The past few times we've tried to come up with a word that they can't hear or don't know about. Does anybody have any ideas for a word?
Cabbage.
Cabbage, that's great. I like that. Oh. I didn't realize.
Throw up sound.
Cabbage and a throw up sound. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I thought you were suggesting cabbage for the word.
No, but yeah, it's
get away from
a
me.
word. Because you kind of got to think of something that just comes to me, you know.
What about Mercury? That's the side quest tonight. See if they say anything about that. So everybody, we're focusing on Mercury to see if we can get any entities that are coming through tonight to reference Mercury in some sense. Is Martin there?
My body is kind of buzzing. This is pretty cool.
Are you still getting ready to party over there?
A little more.
Garrett's getting happy for the meets.
She was just right there.
Who was just right there?
Lisbon men.
Happy for the neat Lisbon men. Can you tell us about the football?
In my mind's eye, I'm seeing like a cape of some sort, like a really cliffy beach with a lot of different rocks. It almost looks like Cannon Beach in Oregon, or on the Olympic Peninsula north of Ocean Shores. It's like a La Push kind of area, but I'm seeing it from like the cape perspective. There's like field grass right up to the edge, and I'm watching the sun go down, but it's like hyper speed. Now it's dark.
Garrett has just typed distant. Where is the location that Bex just saw?
Something.
Can I interest you in a donut?
I only come out here at night.
Using the desert illuminations, I drew the Hierophant, the Queen of Jugs or Cups. She looks like Bex. And the Two of Swords, who is, of course, blindfolded. Interesting.
Four drivers.
Yahtzee. Don't leave. Okay, we won't. Donuts can be nighttime food. This is true. Don't leave. Yahtzee. Mike. I wonder if it's like microphone or
maybe Mike
I've been doing
Clellan.
this for years.
Yeah.
Now I'm like following, I've turned around from the cape. I'm running downhill down this dirt path. Dirt's like kind of like an orangey clay, but dry, really dry.
We just had a question. What is their favorite color?
It's steep enough where I'm afraid I'm gonna roll down. But I somehow just power through it and run really fast. I don't know why I guess I'm just running.
Why are you running?
They almost seem related somehow, like what he's typing there and what she's saying about.
There's a universe out there.
Does whomever we're communicating with like Star Wars?
Like a deck of cards.
That a boy, I'm gonna get high.
What do you use to get high?
Imagining it in pieces.
Imagining what in pieces?
I'm running on that path and I see like a parking lot. I have my keys. I'm hitting the button and I'm running into my car, but my car lights aren't coming on.
Interesting. Very UFO-y.
Mm-hmm. Pentacles all have aliens on them. I just drew the Knight of Pentacles and King of Pentacles, as well as the Hanged Man.
I'm like punching and kicking my car. It's stupid, but I'm trying to get into it, and I don't know why, but I have to get into it. And I think the battery's dead. I think I left the dome light on. I'm trying to get into it. All the windows are up. It looks like a really old car. Like it looks like a 4-door, late 70s, early 80s. Once the cars went from like a round hood to like a very flat, long hood, like cars that like my dad would say is like a boat to park. That's like a boat to park. I can't see what color it is. It's dark, but it looks like a maroon or red. Soft top, but doesn't pop down.
Wow, my something. Just drew the ghost card. Memories, what haunts you, unfinished business. Interesting. And then we have another comment. Parking lots have always been super liminal. Like totally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Eat, eat, eat. Always with the snacks.
Yeah.
Is that Martin? Martin's the bid. Steven.
Steve?
Okay. Now we have a name. And when we were at the Walker Ames house doing an Estes session there, that was the entity's, whatever was coming through, that was its name. It was Steven.
Steven, are you hungry?
There's something on the ground right outside.
And he was an 8-year-old boy. Or it presented itself as an 8-year-old boy, I should say.
I can't make out what it is though, but my attention is drawn downward. I see like sandals with socks on.
The Pacific Northwest uniform.
Yes.
Knock and walk in. I want to try knocking.
It's the color blue.
Is blue your favorite color?
Yes.
Are you
first
sure?
Thing I thought.
Don't walk on the water. There's water again. Some places have graveyards in parking lots. That's true, actually.
Mm-hmm.
There's one near us that was like a grocery store parking lot and a graveyard.
I guess I'm just like in the sky. I don't know if I'm in. No, I think I'm just like floating, but I'm in the clouds and it's like a purple sky. It's just kind of hanging out.
Is there anything in the sky with you?
I don't know if I'm like going up, down, sideways. I'm just kind of there.
They're bones, says Garrett. Lifted.
The book.
Yeah. We were just talking about graveyards.
Right.
The graveyard you were talking about. Whose bones were lifted? Oh, she's lifted. Bex is in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's why they pay him so much money. The judgment card has a purple sky and a cow being abducted by
chicken.
I looked for you. Wait. You don't believe. Who doesn't believe? What don't we believe? Are you transdimensional versus extraterrestrial? Question from TikTok.
Here I am with the news.
Act and
15.
15 what? You don't.
You don't say.
Beware.
You know, like the early
Well,
movies where they were trying to like visualize like the World Wide Web or like the cyber world, and it's like all this code and like all of these weird cyber things. I'm seeing that, but it's green, blue, and red, and it's just kind of like reminds me of like Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase a little bit, but that cartoon. I'm just seeing that.
One more.
I'm seeing like a face kind of come out of it. The face, it looks just like a kind of like a human skeleton, nothing more. But the bone color is blue. The bone color is blue, but it's. I mean, it looks almost identical to a human skeleton, but just the bust is poking through the code.
Walk on me, walking in a grave.
That's the rest of it. I see blue eyes.
Cats. He's the one who mentioned bones, right? Who typed it in earlier before she said that? Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems like a...
Now everything's kind of swirling. Like a cyber tornado or something. It's just kind of all...
Is this a download? Like, it seems very down. Why is Spiro Agnew into this?
Is that who we've been talking to this whole time?
Yeah. Is Spiro Agnew hungry?
I wonder where Spiro Agnew is buried.
Yeah.
If it's in a parking lot, then that's something.
Right.
Downloading and uploading have come up a few times in a few sessions.
Because it kind of seems like what it is. Like when you're seeing, it seems like when you're seeing, I don't know, computer code, it's like an upload, download, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Because it's something that some people have said in terms, like when Jim Peniston talked about the...
You found out.
What did we find out? Apparently somebody's got to eat.
Yeah.
This evening. Somebody's really hungry.
Lean into it. Did you see something else?
What is it that might have been seen? Died in 1996. Agnew died in 1996. The time of cheesy cyberspace graphics. That's true.
Yes, absolutely.
Still chasing.
I can't repeat. I wonder why he can't repeat it.
Like the it just seems like somebody is either hungry, but also somebody is offering.
Somehow I was able to open the trunk of the car, and I have this DSLR camera, Nikon, and it has a telephoto lens that's like at least, I would say it has a telephoto lens 300, but then it also has a macro extension, which adds about 5 or 6 inches of length. So it's like a telephoto, but with a macro extension. It's long. I need a tripod for the camera and then a tripod just for the lens. And I'm running back up. I'm running back up the trail. I break one of the legs off of the tripod, but I keep going. I'm just gonna like find a stick or something.
Yeah, love how nerdy Vex is getting about this camera setup. That's totally her.
Yep.
So whatever she's experiencing, could it be that if it is an entity of some kind, it's like eliciting that from her, or
right,
more like she's using the language she knows to communicate the sensations?
There's a Minolta, not a Nikon. It's a Minolta, which means that it's 35 millimeters. So this, I'm shooting film, I guess. But I pointed it at the Cape. But I'm looking at the clouds, and I'm not happy about the clouds.
I bet you there's something different there.
Nighttime. I don't know. I guess I'm doing some like really long exposure work.
Is anything in the sky other than the cloud specks? And Garrett types, I bet you there's something different there if they can understand. Huh.
Okay, so now I guess I'm up at the, looks like the same Cape, but I'm at the beach now, and the sand is almost black. You know, I'm seeing the waves come in, and I pick up some of the wet sand and see how black it is.
Black sand.
Why am I so obsessed
Shark
with this?
attack on January 12th.
Weird.
That is weird.
Yeah.
On a beach, and there was a shark attack. Interesting.
Is there something in the sand?
Wondering where there are black sand beaches. I know Hawaii.
Breath of fresh air is what I just heard.
Hawaii, Iceland,
Glowing
islands.
in the sand. I can't quite get to it. I don't know if it's like a special rock or. I feel like I need something special to be able to see it or grab it completely. I don't have it. I'm checking my pockets. I don't know what it is.
Garrett says he's just switched to doing the Tenny box. He's not doing the Ewoks any longer. Which is a sentence I just said. Where is the beach? There's one on Lake Superior. Interesting.
I'm getting the impression that that's all I'm going to get for right now. Getting the impression I might have some crazy dreams tonight. That's kind of the last thing I just thought of here. I'm going to go ahead and pull out. Okay.
Her circadian rhythms are starting to line up with WUFO. She's never used an alarm to like come out at 10.
Interesting.
It's not been exactly 10 every time, but this was
Oh my
exactly.
gosh, it's exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was so strange because I could see things very vividly, and then it all cut to blank. Like you were like, if you were to see an old film reel, and when it ends, it's like, it was like that kind of. Okay, that's enough. You know, it was very fun and very bizarre. It's
That's cool.
That was like the most fun session on my end. I felt like I was a lot more involved. Whereas, you know, you have to kind of get used to the audio because it feels like I kept thinking to myself, like, I wonder if this is what like people who are clairaudient experience, where it's just like a low whispering. So it's very cool because I kind of put myself into like, oh, maybe like, you know, maybe I can hear. But the visuals I did not expect. Those are wild. They were so clear. So
I can't know if Garrett's still on or not.
Oh,
right.
He looked a little blissed out there for a second.
Stoked. That's funny. I'll give him. I want to do a psychic test. You are becoming a great seer. Thank you, Bella. I love it. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go up and down.
Oh, my light just went out.
Oh yeah, there. Yeah. Sometimes we go up and down. That's awesome.
I think I put G in a trance. Yeah, G is like, he's really into this audio, John. He really loves this stuff. You did a really good job with it.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I want to throw my spirit box away. I'm not just being sweet hot. I genuinely like want to throw it away. It feels useless to me now.
We had some interesting hits. There were some parallels between the two.
Yeah. I mean,
geez.
when you were standing on the beach, Garrett typed up shark attack on January 12th. So that was interesting. You talked about seeing the skeleton in that cyber information, at the same time, or pretty close after it, Garrett had typed, the bones or something like that. So yeah, there are a couple of parallels.
That's wild. Oh,
Mhm.
Oh, is he coming out?
that's all, folks.
That's all, folks. Everybody just needs to make their own sounds and kind of move beyond the sweeping radio, says Tenny. Totally.
Listen, I mean, I'm ready. I think we've officially phased out of the SB7.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well, I don't
Garrett.
know if Garrett has talked about it publicly yet, but I don't know if we want to talk about the ghost trap idea, his ghost trap idea.
Sure. We'll leave that.
Well, I don't know. No, I don't want to give away trade secrets or anything. So
yeah, yep. I think up to him.
We should definitely give away trade secrets. I can hear you guys now.
Oh, okay.
These trade secrets.
I don't believe in that. Holding on to too much of this information. I think everyone should just share this stuff personally. But the ghost trap idea. You want me to talk about that real quick?
Yeah. Do you mind, or do you want to come out because you're also coming out of a?
I'm fine.
Right.
I'm fine. I wasn't super sensory deprivation. I feel fine.
Okay.
So there's that idea in in Ghostbusters where they have that trap where they kick it across the floor and they stomp on a box and it opens and it sucks in the ghost and they take it home, collect them all kind of thing. And I was thinking about, I have this new code that I wrote that is available for anyone to take, that you can take any bit of audio and you can, it will get rid of any just quiet spots, and then it'll also cut it up and make it into a spirit box. So I was thinking if you went into a haunted house and just put a field recorder in the room and just recorded the ambient audio of the place, like the spirit of that place, and then you took that audio and you ran it through all of this, and you could make the place itself into a spirit box of that place.
That's cool.
And use it and keep it with you, kind of like the Ghostbusters did. And then I don't know, I just think that's interesting, and it's a lot easier than sitting through a big fat 4-hour file looking for EVPs, when you can just now just use it as your own spirit box. And What I just noticed real quick of like doing this, like all of these different boxes have like a timbre or like a certain sound or essence to them. Like the Ghostbusters one sounds different. This one really sounded like people like burping and throwing up a lot. It was like a lot of this, like that sound like a lot. I was like, what is going on?
Man, I'm gonna go back and rewatch this now.
Yeah,
you were throwing up some wild things on there. I'm like, what are we talking? Why is Spiro Agnew coming?
Spiro Agnew too. Yeah. So like I feel like there's like quality, like I could hear like the weird narrator's voice, just like his like sound of his voice, not any words, but just like his like low sound. And the little fairy, I forgot about this in the movie, there's like these little twinkle fairies in that movie. They're like lights and they make this weird like sound, and I could hear that essence of that sound. So I just think like that same kind of thing, like if you go to a place, like the feeling of that place will be in the box, and then you can actually use it, have that same, it's all cut up, but it's the same feeling of a place. Anyway,
I love that. I love the idea of us taking John's recommendation and going analog when it comes to audio. I'm also into the photo and video, but I love the idea of having like this little collection of all of these places that we've been, but instead of it being just photographs, it's audio collection. And then if we want to bring forth certain things, or I don't know, I like the idea of having these like physical artifacts of sounds and thinking about like what's imprinted on the cassette as like an artifact of that place. I think that's so cool. And I mean, I don't really do a whole lot of EVPs anymore because I find myself only doing them when I want to try to approach an investigation from like a gathering proof perspective, and kind of like instead of our experience forward that we prefer. So as I find myself going down the experience route, I care less about recording, but this gets me like right back on track for reasons that more line up with what we want to do experience wise. So that really excites me when it comes to this whole ghost trap idea.
Yeah. You know what I think would be really, really, really cool would be to have multiple ghost traps for the same location and then compare them.
Oh, wow.
Like have different people compare, and write down what they hear and just like see them side by side.
Yeah.
We can,
sounds cool as hell.
Wow. That would be so cool to do like a really funny random, now you can get people to come in and take like surveys and present them with a business idea or something. Instead, we could sit people down, have them listen to the same tape, and then use like these people, their like peer review experience, and see what consistencies they can find through these things.
Dude, also be cool about this is like we could make like haunted house mixtapes of like different spirit boxes, like hey, here's the Walker Ames house spirit box mixtape. Like I'm rocking that on my like cassette, Walkman. I think that'd be so awesome. Fantastic. It reminds me of that idea too about like the stone tape theory about there's this idea that ghosts are like imprinted into a place, just like a sound is imprinted onto a cassette. And like I've been wondering, and like the ghost is like this residual haunt that plays in a loop, just like your tape that you have to flip over. But like, what if we try to like record ourselves into a place, like make a mixtape of ourselves, like a 4-track of ourselves into a place, and like purposely try to create a stone tape of whatever we want. And how do we induce that? I think that'd be so fun to try. I don't know how yet, but I think that would be a really cool project.
I love it, especially when we have a multitude of places that we can investigate that are outdoors. So being able to compare, like, that would even be good from like a pure investigation standpoint, to be able to hear like what birds are in the area. If we hear this, that, and the other, and then comparing that as well. We don't have just like, oh, the Port Gamble house. Like, oh, we can investigate, Rocky Creek Conservation Area, that's real sketch by my place. And we can use that for like data collection, but then we can also kind of let people listen to those. And I'd be really interested to see if we could hear the same kind of murmurs that we would expect to hear in like a haunted inside place. I'm really curious about that. It's where my mind kind of goes naturally, I guess.
Tenny just commented, he says every time he's gone to a haunted location and found any sort of broken glass, he's taken some and made a window.
Wow.
And so when he looks through it, he's looking through hundreds of haunted locations.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's really cool.
So.
Yeah.
That's so romantic and beautiful. I love that. I love it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting though, because it brings my thought process back to the whole liminal spirit idea of, like, you take something from one ecosystem, then you move it to another ecosystem. And are you creating a connection between those two that with intent you can use to, I don't know what exactly you would use it for, but like,
TBD.
yeah, like, well, so the mullein seeds, like I grew a mullein plant and gave some seeds to Garrett, and now he has a mullein plant growing.
Oh, we lost you for a sec there, Jeremy. We'll let you know when you're back. Oh, shoot. Oh.
The mulleins upset.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have said anything, man.
Yeah. I know. Garrett, you actually gave me some of those seeds. Oh, he's back.
There you go. You disappeared for a minute.
Oh, man. We lost you for a good, I would say at least.
Am I back?
Yeah, 15 seconds or so we lost you.
Wow. Lost time.
Mm-hmm. You're just talking about, right? Garrett, you're giving seeds to him. He gave some to me. He's growing mullein. I'm growing mullein.
Yeah.
That's where we, I think, cut off there.
Yeah. And so I think we should start sending people, like, let's send Rob some seeds and make these literal connections of entities, this sort of mycelial network of weirdness.
Yeah, I was wondering if like we could like play telephone that way, like talk to that plant and then take its seeds and then pass them to someone across the country and then have them try to like communicate with that plant, like either through meditation or dreams or something, and see it take like a whole season to have the plant grow.
Yeah,
it's like super snail mail. But like it'd be really interesting if we could like, you know, we could hide a message in the seeds and then pass them along across the country. I think that'd be so fun. That's cool. Like you're saying, that's almost creating like a peer-to-peer network or something of like all these different, like, you know, the seeds moving around. And I think it's so cool that I have a mullein growing from your yard and now it's going to be growing in Bex's yard. It's such a cool thing.
It's really cool. And then also the I want to go back to the mushrooming experiment at some point.
Yes.
Where we made ink out of mushrooms that naturally decay in order to spread their spores. And we're wondering if the spores in there are still viable. And if that's the case, if you could like write or draw something using this ink and then send it somewhere and then it sprouts mushrooms.
Yes. So what I'm figuring out, I have been digging into it. So I'm trying to figure out how we can make mushroom substrate into like a paper of sorts, like seed paper that you can plant, because the only way that I see people being able to receive this and planting it is like the normal substrate medium would literally just be like a mason jar that's been sterilized. And so I'm that's like oatmeal, it's like millet, substrate's not easy or not hard to find, and then sterilization, it's pop it in the oven, you're good. But what I need to do to see if that's still active is to be able to put it on that viable substrate first. But then once that is viable, the mycelium starts to grow. I won't even wait for a fruiting. The mycelium's there. It's a time thing for them. We haven't been able to kind of tap in exactly when it'll fruit, whereas like these commercial oysters and things of the sort, those kits, they have it all figured out as far as when they fruit. But we'll find out with observation and time. But then taking that same perfect substrate and making it into seed paper is where I'm kind of, where it's still sterile enough is where I'm at. But I think I'm almost there.
That's
so cool.
That we could just send that and people can just literally throw it and put some dirt on it. The idea is that they can grow these mushrooms, but I'm in my dirty office trying to find out how to sterilize plant paper.
Yeah. No, Alex says wood plugs. That's
yes,
definitely another
that's true. Wood plugs for sure. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
That would be really cool, actually.
So before we wind up, we did try to give you guys a word.
Oh, you did, and what was that word?
Well, we didn't hear it, so I didn't know if you
Oh,
guys wanted to take a stab at it before. If you got any impressions.
Color blue keeps coming up.
Yeah.
Water again.
The word was Mercury.
Mercury. Nope.
Because that's the side quest tonight.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Yes, Mercury, and then we have a crescent moon as well tonight. I'm gonna go ahead.
What did Spiro Agnew have to do with?
That is the biggest mystery of this evening. What is Spiro Agnew doing right now in out in the spirit world? We need to know. Because it would Garrett's throwing up all these weird responses. Just what? Spiro Agnew?
Yeah,
Oddly specific.
I was embarrassed to write some things, but it was just what I heard. I don't know. It's weird. I was listening to the Ewok one. It was way more staccato, one word things. But then John's is really interesting because I took that away and I just listened to John Tenney's, and that one I could hear. It's almost like longer whispers, but it was I had to really strain and pay attention to what was there. It's really cool. I don't know if people could get a chance to hear it. It's really cool.
Yeah. It's on our Discord. If anybody's in our Discord, it's on there.
Yeah. Whatever was coming through, apparently they were really hungry.
Oh my gosh, they're always hungry.
Just I kept seeing eat.
I know. I mean, I was embarrassed to write that because it is like a theme, and I'm like,
right.
But that's it's like a short word, and there's this real staccato thing. But I did hear that a lot, so I don't know.
It's interesting to hear that you're talking too about having to pay extra attention and focus, and this is something that I've personally learned. Really doing WUFO for 16 weeks with this, radio static. It's that the more that I try to pay attention and really dissect, the less success I have. It really comes from when I can completely calm down. I let my thoughts pass, free fall, and then I try to journey to the darkest part of in between my eyes. And then through having this quest of I need to find the darkest part, I need to kind of descend, fall into my chair. That's when the things get really clear to me. But as soon as I start to focus in, I kind of freak myself out a little bit, and I kind of start kicking myself for potentially missing things. And it just I spiral. So I find that the less I try, the more success I have. So maybe that's something that you can practice.
That's works good for me. Thank you.
Yes, I love the idea of us continuing to do all these dual sessions. I'm excited that someone else kind of gets the experience going under and all that entails, and then doing it simultaneously is always exciting to me.
Someday I'll explain to the world why I can't be the guy who goes under.
Yeah, the world's not written. No, I'm kidding.
The world is not written.
It's up to you whenever you want to. It's so fascinating. I really love. Whenever you'd want to share that.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I would be interested in the stuff we're talking about surrounding the whole ghost box or ghost trap idea.
Yeah.
How we could apply this to other paranormal fields. How could we take that into the world of UFO entities? Because right now it's you go into the haunted house, and so people think, and I am not going to say that ghosts and UFO entities are not the same phenomenon.
Right.
You know what I mean? But how do you go that direction?
It'd be interesting to take that to well-known landing sites or well-known areas where UFO encounters have taken place and doing the same thing. There are some areas that come to mind, especially if they have occurred in more than one location, just given the sightings that take place. There's the David Stevens case that It's just kind of one that fascinates me, but it occurred in a multiple different spots in Maine, from like Norway all the way down to Oxford. So like they were in a car, their car was just kind of steered. They didn't have control over their vehicle for like a good portion of their ride. They get taken to this field where this UFO comes up, and it actually pulls the car to another side of the road. There's an abduction event. And the thing is like you'd think after this abduction event happens, they're back in the car. You think it ends. No, that thing hangs out with them for another hour and a half as they drive down to another lake where they see these tiny UFOs just flying all around the place. So it'd be interesting to like go to places like that where multiple events have happened and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that Greg and Dana over at the Pear Museum, they did an experiment. I think it was late last year, but they essentially had us all set a group intention that they would become abducted, and they drove out to this site where this incident with, I think, sisters or with 3 women in Kentucky happened.
Yeah, the Stanford 3. Yep,
absolutely. And so they were going out to that exact site, and they lost time. They received like Greg's name and weird messages through their car radio. The car radio kept trying to make calls, but they were using their phone to like stream. There's a series of really strange events, and then they went under for an Estes right in the parking lot of this like abandoned lot, and Greg sees light anomalies, and they're orange, and it was quite interesting. And then he had some really cool messages through the Estes, and so I think doing something of that, like you guys are saying, but at all of these locations would be so fun. And then of course trying all of these new audio methods, and then being able to record. I would be really interested in trying to record just the sky the whole time during that session. I would love to do it on a Super 8 or something, ideally, but not only just audio recording the whole time, but being able to just have like raw footage of the sky and maybe do something with that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the idea of taking paranormal investigating methods and going to these sites that are so notorious. Because I really don't think that a lot of people are doing that yet. And it's like a huge interest of ours now that we're doing WUFO and everything. It's just the natural progression, I feel like.
Yeah.
We talked about
and that's the thing that I think is interesting too about the sheer volume of like the strange side of this stuff that you don't ever hear about, because it just sounds too, I mean, like little elves flying through the house, and of course the pancake is a good example of one that I think is more I think that one's more crowd friendly kind of than that's why we hear about it, but it's still like really weird. The thing that boggles my mind is that,
it's just a little charming, It's with something like that, there's a charm to it, and like an even exchange. So yeah,
it's not a headless Batman,
right?
But the thing that boggles my mind, and I say it about the map too, is that even if one of these accounts is true, that's all it takes. I mean, only one of them has to be, true to throw all of what we believe about reality into question.
Sure.
Wow.
And it doesn't even have to be the weirdest one.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like, well, reality is a very individual experience. So how do you experience that with more than one person, and how are you able to process another person's experience in your own way? There's no saying that you will experience it in the same way, even if, as they're describing it to you. So, that's the thing. How do you quantify what's real and what isn't? It's not an easy task to do. And with experiences that people have, there's no way that you can quantify if it really happened. All you know is that, well, one person believes that it did happen. So,
yep.
Like, there's nothing wrong with believing that they believe that it happened.
Yeah.
Right. And then how that affects their life from then is very real.
Right.
That is a fantastic way, I think, to end this wild session. I don't know about you guys, but I'm very excited to watch this back.
Yeah.
If people don't know this already, we do keep these up for ideally about 24 hours after, so people can catch up on it. And then they are available from then on our Patreon over at Liminal Earth Society, just for $1. So you can go over there, join, and have access to every single WUFO live that we've done here. I think there's 15 of them now. I have a master list, but if you want to kind of binge those and start weaving the narrative, be our guest. I need to catch up. All right.
I want to say one other thing real quick, though. I want to acknowledge how much work Bex puts into all of this stuff, because like she is incredible at like getting the pages ready every week and keeping us on track. And so I just wanted to say that publicly. I want everybody to know that like Bex is like a superstar when it comes to the Liminal Earth crew, and we appreciate her so much.
Thanks, guys. My pleasure. Anything I can do.
And thanks, Rob, for coming on this
week.
Thanks
so
much.
Rob.
I appreciate it. This was fun.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Anytime.
Do you want to plug anything real quick?
Yes. Where can people find you, and what are you working on?
Sure. Episodes of the Our Strange Skies podcast are out weekly. You can find it on any podcasting app that you get your podcasts. You can find me on the internet at Our Strange Skies on Twitter and Instagram, and at Your UFO Guy, spelled YER UFO Guy on Twitter. And that's where you can pretty much follow along and see when new stuff comes out.
Check it out. I have an episode with him, and
yes,
we're trying to maybe possibly have one.
Yep. No, we're gonna make that happen. We're gonna talk about the UFO gnomes.
Yes, the UFO gnomes. And then for those interested in some more fun chats tomorrow night, Katie and Webb will be having episode 2 of our random new cable access show that is on the internet, and it will be across all of the Liminal Earth platforms at 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and 9 p.m. Eastern. And we are going to be talking about all kinds of stuff, pretty random. Check it out.
And of course, thanks the most of all to everybody who was watching and hanging out in the chat with us.
Thank you so much.
Maureen.
Yes,
Danny.
Maureen, Kaj.
Yes.
Alex's. We got a couple Alex's. We got Katie and Adler.
Yes.
You guys are our friends, and we love you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Let's go look at the sky.
Yeah.
Let's look up, see what we find. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Bye all.